Hey, it's Jacob. Welcome to this new video. Today, I want to talk about whether or not you should trust AI in terms of like when you're gonna use it for yourself for doing things instead of you, right? When you want it to replace you for very specific tasks, is it something that is not going to be reliable if you do that? And then you're gonna, because a lot of people say, well, and that might be you. Maybe you think, well, maybe it's going to bite me in the ass later because if I rely on it too much and it's not really reliable, then it's going to there is going to be a lot of errors. I won't see them, and then it will scale, and it's going to be really bad, you know. So that's a common concern about like AI, and a lot of people are thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't like use it really, or I shouldn't use it too much, or like basically they don't necessarily they're really on the fence of like adopting those types of like technology because they don't understand how this works. And I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't. I'm saying that this question here, like whether or not you should use it or you should trust it, because it's going to be a problem if you use it too much, is actually a misunderstanding of how things work in the real world. It's not, the question doesn't actually make sense. So this is why, like, this is, I have this illustration of like, let's say somebody is asking you, like, can you give me money, please, you know? And it's really confusing, like, because like let's take that example of somebody asking you for money, like, and put it in a theoretical world, like people are doing it with AI and telling and asking like, should you use it or not, should you trust it or not? Well, if we talk about that example here, should you trust people to give money? Should you give money to people when they ask you for money? It's like, well, what are you talking about? You know, this is a theoretical, abstract thought. Like that doesn't actually apply in the real world. There is no actual like situation where you're gonna be in that situation here. There's always going to be a context for it. Like if you've known that person for 30 years and that person is asking you for $10,000, and let's say that person has maybe in the past, like that person gave you like $100,000, and that's a person that you've known for again 30 years, and that you've never had any problem. You've never had any problem with that person, and like you know them extremely well. You see them every day. You live with them. Then it's obviously a very different situation from somebody in the street coming up to you and asking you for like, can you give me not even like $10,000, just $3? You know, it's a very, very different situation, right? It doesn't make sense to abstract that question and then to like get into a debate about whether or not that's the case, because the real world is a lot more like in a way more complicated than that, but like in a way more simple also, because once the context is like actually defined, then the answer is actually extremely simple and extremely intuitive. Like you don't need to think about like 10 years, like whether or not like you're gonna like give money to someone. Like most of the time it's pretty obvious when you're gonna do that, because the context is going to define that situation in a way where it's going to be very easy for you to like make that decision. So what if we take that in the context of like an AI and like building tools in order to replace yourself, then it's exactly the same thing, right? Like if you build trust in your tools over time. Well, I mean, over time is just one way, right? But like there are tons and tons of ways to make software reliable. So that's let's clear that up here. Let me clear that up. And so in this case, if this is the exact same thing, except that the people they are asking to do that, they're saying they're doing that, but like yeah, asking that question is also a way to basically not put in the effort into making whatever your AI is more reliable. So it's about putting the effort, put in an effort, effort in terms of reliability, right? There are tons of ways to make things more reliable if you need to do them, right? And the thing is, if you being reliable is a spectrum. Like there is no you should trust or you shouldn't trust. It's a spectrum, and that spectrum is going to be applied based on the situation, but also based on like how much effort did you put into like making the software more reliable, making the AI more reliable in this specific situation. And so asking yourself that question is sometimes misleading in that specific case. And this is really like, in a way, this is about being lazy, because if you know the answer to that question, then you don't have to put in the effort. It's binary. It's either like this is trustworthy, and then you should trust everything. Like, yeah, let it like manage your finances. Why not? Like, this is trustworthy, or you shouldn't. So don't use it at all. That's not how it works. That's never been how anything in the real world worked ever. It's about you trust it a little bit, and then you look at, and then you build trust over time depending on like the output. But like the output is going to give you information about like what it's good at and what it's not good at, and then you can put in some effort into making it better at some of the things where it's not good at. And you can use like, there are tons of different ways to do that. Like you can use different types of AI to manage different types of situations when you know that in that specific instance it's not really good, or in that other specific situation then it's better, and then you can trust it. And but I mean, what if you've done a specific task 10,000 times with an AI and it never failed to do it because that task is just being managed really, really well by the AI, then yeah, you can really trust that AI. But like, again, that also depends on the stakes of the situation. If the stakes of the situation, like I'm going to give you an example, like a large language model like ChatGPT, for me, it's been really good at converting text into like a programming language, like basically like let's say creating like using LaTeX. Basically, it's a document preparation software. Basically, it's basically a conversion of some text, right? It's been really good at doing that all of the time, right? So I know that I can trust it to do that. But at the same time, the stakes are really low, because if there is an error, then it doesn't matter. Like I just regenerate the code, or I just ask it to do it again, right? If it doesn't work. So the stakes are low. I'm not going to ask it, even though I trust it fully, I'm not going to ask it if, like, let's say I have a presentation like the next day, I'm not going to like ask it to prepare a document like that. And then the next day I'm going to look at the results when I'm presenting. Like, you know, at some point you need to check also, like that depends on the stakes. It's no different than anything else in the real world. So that's just like how again, like the main point of the video here is AI is not about like trustworthy or not. AI is a spectrum. In terms of reliability, of course. This is not about whether or not you should trust things. It works like everything else in the real world. It's not, there is nothing new here, is what I'm trying to say. So that's it for this video. If you want to be part of my contacts, of my personal contacts, you can click in the description. If I want to share something with you, I'll send you an email. And thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.